In 2012, most video game news seems to revolve around America. Well, to that.
We stand for Queen,
Country, and video games. BRB UK.
Worse teeth,
Better accents.
Hello, and indeed ahoy hoy, and welcome to episode 8 of BRB UK. I am Dan, one of your hosts, and I am joined by a man who distinctly ignores people who name themselves after kitchen appliances. It's Mighty Mutt. Or Tim. Yep. Let's start.
Yeah!
No, let's not start again. Let's keep that in. Let's keep your mistakes in for this week.
Alright, okay. I don't edit anymore, so my mistakes
so
still find
your
their way in.
mistakes get to stay in.
I'm just hoping there's like a really, you know what you should do? Just like launch into it and go, Tim! So Dave can like really easily kind of cut them together.
Yeah?
Rather than going, Ed! Tim.
No, I still think that would be appropriate, Tim, going, and it's Tim. Would be brilliant as an intro.
Anyway,
Who are you?
Me?
Yes, you. Who are you?
Who the hell are you?
I don't know.
It's John. Say hello,
Oh,
John.
hi, that's me.
Oh, sorry. It's John. There we go.
Hey, and it's Dan.
Yeah. Anyway, so how have you been, chaps?
Good.
I've been upset and sad.
Have you?
Why?
My local game store got closed down.
Yeah, we did that last week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was last week, but it was in between recording the show last week and now, so that's why I thought I would mention it.
And then they got bought for £1.
Yeah, they did, which I thought was quite epic. You know, we probably could have rustled up the cash.
Yeah, I'm really upset that only a week beforehand I bought a copy of Kane and Lynch and it cost me nearly twice as much.
As the whole company.
As the whole company.
Amazing.
Well, to be honest, it's your fault for buying a copy of Kane and Lynch. Let's be honest.
I'm already
is.
trying to trade it back in, to be honest, but still. Accepting bids of £1.50 and upwards.
Although I thought it was quite good that the outgoing game staff in North Finchley did actually put a sign up on the door instead of saying this store is now closing, being taken over by the administrators. Their notice was store closed, please insert coin to continue. Which I thought was awesome.
Anyway, the news that they have been bought is kind of a bit of a mixed bag. The good news is that all the stores that are open are going to be saved. And the bad news is that everybody who lost their jobs
isn't
really the responsibility of the company, who is Op Capita.
Unless you happen to work in head office, then you can have your job back, apparently.
Maybe. Anyway, but they were bought by Op Capita, who bought Comet for £2 and then cut 1,000 jobs in Comet.
Yeah, but this is a magical pound that they spent that actually is going to cost them £85 million. So,
to
me, those sums don't work. Here, have £1. Oh, brilliant. Fantastic. What are you going to give me? Minus 84,990,999 quid. Aren't they a bunch of bankers as well? Op Capita are a bunch of bankers, like run by some conglomerate. Royal Bank of Scotland and NatWest, I think, have got something to do with it.
Did you mean to replace that B with a W?
Oh, sorry. Yes, a bunch of merchant bankers. There we go.
But they've appointed a guy called Martin Gibbs as the new CEO of the company, and he is the former GameStation head, before GameStation became really
which happened to coincide with Game buying the chain of stores.
Funny coincidence that, but I think what they're gambling on is that GameStation were doing pretty well, obviously, by Game bought
and
them.
a bit more popular.
Yeah, and hopefully they can kind of get back to what they were good at before.
Which I think would be brilliant, because actually the high street really needs that, is kind of a bit more of a gaming enthusiast store, since GameStation before it was bought out was certainly that, but well, in some stores it was, but they kind of had their hands tied by the corporate policy of Game PLC. So I think it could be really good. I think it'd be a great thing for gamers, but I hope they get a bit more of a high street presence back in the medium term.
One of the things I wonder, though, is how much the new owners now that have just bought it had an influence in what the administrators did with the stores that have gone. You know what I mean? Like how much?
Next to none.
Well,
none.
I don't know, but I reckon they could have easily influenced them by tabling an offer that said, we will buy at this price if these stores stay open, and that might have influenced their decision on which stores to close. You know?
No, but Op Capita actually had a bid refused earlier by the administrators.
And by the banks.
Okay, yeah. But that means that they then had... They were either in negotiations or knew what kind of price they were paying, or, you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously some discussion going on between them. You know?
Well, they probably made a bigger bid.
Right, so imagine that their initial bid was 50p in a bag of crisps.
And then they've upped it to £1 in maybe 2 bags of crisps, and one of them is prawn cocktail.
Yeah, so, job is a good one there, in all fairness.
Yeah. But what's actually happened in the past couple of minutes is that Game has asked to be completely delisted from the stock market, suggesting that obviously...
That happened a good week and a half ago. That happened just before their CEO resigned. They went, we don't want to be on the stock market anymore.
Well, no, they have been properly delisted as of tomorrow.
No, but they were delisted last week, mate.
They have released a statement saying that everything is going to be taken off. Like no, trading was halted on Game shares. They weren't delisted.
No, they were delisted.
But why does it say they're asking for a delisting today?
Because they want to make really sure.
Maybe they're asking for it to be permanent, not asking for the new company to be listed or something. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think what it was Game PLC were listed, so the overarching company. So perhaps the new company that they've set up doesn't want to be on the stock exchange.
Possibly. Anyway, the whole point is they're back in some way, shape or form, and hopefully things will get back to normal soon. And by normal, I don't mean the old normal where they didn't do very well. I mean like a good normal.
Although if you look at the prices on their website, they're still a bit crap.
Yeah, I know it. I was in the game store on Oxford Street, and nothing really majorly exciting on price or anything going on there.
Anyway, I need to ask, we have Kid Icarus here on the agenda.
Yes.
Why are we still talking about this game?
Because I listened to some of Tim's advice.
Let me guess, has the Underground now got tables on it so you can play it properly?
No, actually, I listened to some of Tim's advice, and amazingly, it was quite good. And you don't necessarily need to stand to play it. The way I've been playing it is kind of clutching my 3DS in my left hand, then with my right hand, the pinky under it, and then the stylus, which is the pointy thing, Tim, in between kind of my thumb and my index finger on my right hand.
Brilliant. What if I don't want to get crippling arthritis?
Well, it does hurt a little bit after an hour of play, but thankfully the 3DS is so kiddie friendly, it tells you to take a break if you've been playing for more than 5 seconds. So, but it is actually a genuinely awesome game, and I just want to reaffirm that Tim was talking proper sense. And I've just got to the bit where Tim was saying, well, you thought the game was about to end, but it goes in a completely mad direction.
And really cool. And the one thing I didn't really discuss is, the one thing I really liked about it is just good game design. I mean, like, it's really nice to see some genuine thought and care and attention paid to, like, the menus and how things work. And I mean,
well, it was done by the guy who was the game designer for Super Smash Brothers, wasn't it? Yeah, so it's a proper good game. Go and buy it. Although the AR cards, I can't quite work out if they're going to be hawking them as a collectible card game.
Apparently, they were giving out a load of them at shows and stuff, but they're going to be quite collectible, I think. But I'm not sure if they're on sale. I haven't heard any hide nor hair of that.
Because it comes in like a foil pack, the cards, and I was half expecting a stick of really chalky crap bubblegum in there just to complete the transportation back to my 1980s childhood, but sadly it didn't.
Well,
very disappointed.
No promises, but I'll see what I can do to get my hands on some to give some away on the show, maybe.
Anyway, I propose we talk about a game we didn't talk about last week.
Let's do that. So we're going to be talking about Ridge Racer Unbounded.
It is now unbounded.
It is now. It is without boundeds.
It was bounded. It is not anymore.
Not a bound in sight.
There's a South Park game out, apparently, which Tim's going to ramble about, and we're going to have a bit of a general ramble on about handheld digital games and other such fun stuff. So, there we go. That's a show. We're going to be doing it. Stay listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of BRB UK Episode 8.
Ridge Racer! But this time it's Unbounded, apparently.
Unbounded!
Yes.
Yeah, I don't get Tim. Tim has been playing Ridge Racer Unbounded this week, and I am a pretty big Ridge Racer fan personally. I mean, I like the fact that it's just a power sliding game and it's over the top.
Well, it's a shame this new game's nothing at all like any of the Ridge Racer games that have gone before.
The only thing I want to say about this game is that it's so renowned for drifting that this time they've stuck in a button that just makes you go sideways whenever you press it, and that is just the best thing in any racing game ever.
You are a simple.
I'm a simple. No. How awesome would it be if you're driving in your car, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, you know what? This is too non-sideways. I think I want to go sideways for a bit. So you just press this little button on your steering wheel and whee! You're sideways, just like that.
Which works particularly well on the North Circular, I would imagine. You dick.
Sideways down the M1, that's fine. Just wave to everybody as you go by.
No, but it's straight the M1. You don't need to. It doesn't matter if you go sideways on the M1. Anyway, let's stop talking about motorways.
And let's start talking about Ridge Racer. Now, Ridge Racer is a series that's perhaps floundered a little bit in recent years, maybe because of a lack of a new hardware launch and it being always quite a good title at kind of showcasing what new hardware can do, and it's kind of made its name on that a bit, and maybe with the long console life cycle and a few other reasons in the series has stifled a little bit and needed something extra.
But in all fairness, mate, even though it's kind of like, ooh, look at the shinies, we're on the new console, the core gameplay mechanic hasn't really changed since it launched on the PS1 back in the 90s.
Yeah, no, but it's still maintained a fair degree of success across even up to, like, 3DS and Vita. It's got launch titles.
No, the Vita one is shocking.
No, that's what I'm saying. Up till that point, it was
right. Can we just march up to the elephant in the room and say, is the fact that it's all urban and street and down with the kids annoying, or is it being
environmental side of things is a bit funny at first. Like, I found a lot of the tracks felt very samey because it was confining me to similar areas, and it does the Ridge Racer thing. Well, it's one of the things it has inherited from the Ridge Racer series is you kind of go on tracks that veer off in different directions type thing, and are different variations of the same track almost kind of idea.
Because it's kind of really gone from like being pretty much solely based on circuits, like being you're racing through a city essentially, aren't you? Starting on the outskirts and going into the middle. And
well, no, it's just like that's not really that well developed in the thing, but basically it just breaks down into you doing different areas, and each different area you need to progress through the races in that area to unlock the later races in that area, basically.
And does it? You have to win races, or is it like a leveling system that you have?
You said that it's not a straight racing thing. There are actually races that are just a straight race, where you don't do what you do in the domination races, where dodgy name, which is where can basically you have a boost meter that builds up for taking down other people. Or knocking down scenery, but only when you're going fast. That's the one thing they don't tell you. Knocking down like lampposts and trees and like small things on the sides of the road and stuff. You'll get points for, and also for drifting, as you're accustomed to. Type thing.
To me, from the kind of the footage that I've seen, it looks like it's borrowed really heavily from primarily Split Second and Burnout. Probably Paradise and also Blur to some extent.
Well, there's only really blurring on the headlights. No, but literally that's what you do when you boost in this game. The brake lights kind of blur as you go, and that's how you know someone's boosting. But no, it's really basically the bastard son of Split Second, Ridge Racer, and Burnout.
There we go.
You said it a second ago. It's really bugging me. But and there's basically you can, once your boost meter's built up, you can use it to take people out a la Burnout style, just like ramming behind them or ramming into the side of them. The one thing that's a bit odd about that mechanic is if you're like going side to side with someone and they start boosting, it will just take you out.
Well, instantaneously, regardless of how much health or whatever you got.
It doesn't matter if they're going slower than you and you're overtaking them. If they're boosting, you're
could
toast.
Be really annoying on. I assume there's multiplayer.
Exactly. So there are occasions when that's annoying. It does add to the tension a little bit as well, because it means that you can't stay on the racing line if you're going slowly. Because people will just ram straight into you and you're dead.
So is it quite unbalanced in that way? Does it start being really cheeky on the later levels?
It does things differently. You kind of have to rewire your brain for a racing game a little bit. Like the fact that you can ram into all the scenery and stuff. You're not used to being able to ram through concrete pillars and that being a good thing. You know what I mean? You can only boost when your boost bar's up, and you can either boost into people or you can boost into the shortcuts, and they'll be going through a building or going through like a garage door or something. Or it'll be, and the only problem there is some of the shortcuts don't actually help you that much, and some of them only help if you're going at a different angle, but some of them are very useful, so you kind of have to get used to a bit of the tracks. It's not like, one thing about Split Second, I thought that pretty much every shortcut and everything you could do was worth doing. That's not necessarily the case in this, or it's not necessarily the case if you're coming from a certain direction or you've done one beforehand.
Well, to be fair to Namco, they didn't have like Disney Imagineers.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that I found
you've kind of got to memorise.
Yeah, I found the game quite tough, as in just generally racing. I think that people that are slightly better at racing games won't necessarily have that problem.
Well, after all, you're the only member of the show without a driving licence, so we clearly picked the right person for the job.
Yeah, no, but it's still a fun arcade racing game, and very much reminds me of like the original Burnouts, taking people down. The only thing I find is that I found myself retrying like a bit more often than I would like to on this sort of game. You know what I mean? And it'll be because like 2 people took me out on the first corner, and then the person behind them took me out, or just.
So as soon as you get on the track, boom, that's you off again.
It can be if you don't race properly and race well and stay out of people's way and build up your boost enough to get boost in time to boost out of their way, sort of idea. And the only thing is, I don't know if you remember the old Ridge Racer style. It's you start in like 11th place out of 12, and then you've got to catch up everyone, and you can, if you do well, you'll generally catch up to 4th and get ahead, and if you're doing really well, then you might get ahead of people. But generally, you've really got to kind of race for the 2 or 3 laps, and if it's a 2-lap race and you get taken out in the first corner, you're not going to catch them.
And do you hear the twang of Rubber Band AI going on as well? Will the whole pack mysteriously catch up to you?
No, not so much. If you are racing well, you will stay ahead. It is quite hard, and I found, especially at the start of the game when you don't have the cars unlocked and stuff like that, or whenever you're trying to race in a class where you don't have the top of the line cars unlocked in that class, it can be a bit tough. Not to say that it's not enjoyable and doesn't add to the level of achievement when you get there. It's just mechanically and playing through the game, a very enjoyable time, on par with kind of not quite the best Burnouts, but some good, that kind of good level game, on par with Split Second, although not quite the massive level of destruction of Split Second.
Right, there are 2 things I want to know. Like, number 1 is, how is the track editor? Have you a chance to play around with that?
I have played around with that as well, and I haven't played around majorly. I've just made a couple of little tracks, and because one thing about that is you unlock more parts to make as you go through the game. So I want to wait until the end until
Well, it seems like a bit of a hybrid between 2. Since the videos I've seen of it, it's almost like one bit of it is like a scale extrix where you're putting track sections together, and then you can zoom in and put what little objects you want wherever.
It's basically just you've got tile sections, and some sections take up like 2 sections, and some will just be your normal 1-section pieces. But some of the grander pieces will be spanned across 2 or 3 sections, basically. And some of them involve shortcuts and different things. The only thing there is you've got quite a tight budget, and the bigger, more flashy things obviously take more budget, sort of idea. So it's balancing out the fun of your track with what you can get in there as well. But it seems quite intuitive, quite easy to use. The one thing that we had was a difficulty in setting heights of objects and stuff. That just got a bit fiddly, but because it didn't naturally tune them to the road and stuff. And the controls are a little bit more fiddly than they were, or seem that way, like getting early to grips with it, sort of thing. But they seem like they're a bit more fiddly, like you can get caught on buildings and stuff when you're trying to move the track. In comparison to Mod Nation, I mean, which was a very, very smooth and easy to use system. But you can build a track, and I want to spend a bit more time before I release anything in public, and as I said, unlock all the pieces so that I can have a bit more fun with it. That seemed like a good different edition, basically.
And it'll be really interesting to see what the community come up with.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously 99% of it's going to be utter bollocks, but there's going to be 1% of real gold there, and it'll be really good. Hopefully it'll give the game some legs as well. And doesn't it have like a phenomenal selection of types of cars and vehicles, like big rig trucks?
Yeah, that's a bit of a funny one. There is a range of cars, and in each class...
Yeah, this is what I was going to ask about. Are they insane like
we
used
to? In each class, there's a range of cars. There's usually one that's too slow for you to win the race, one that's too hard to handle to control for the race, and then the choices that you actually have in between.
So essentially, you've got a choice between a Skoda, a Lamborghini, and a Ford Mondeo.
It's kind of what it comes down to. But I mean, there is a range of things, but it's a bit weird. Like, you'll unlock virtually the same car in the next class that's just a better version of that car.
Okay.
Yeah, and then in each area you only have access to a certain amount of cars. So in the first area you unlock, say, 6 different cars. In the second area you may only unlock 6 cars, but you have to unlock them again, and they're different to the ones you had before, even though they're based on that car.
So rather than have a car you can tune up, it's kind of you have to unlock it all over again.
But then when you get to another area, there will be different cars in some of those areas as well. Like, there was a pickup in one of the areas I got to that wasn't available in the earlier levels and stuff like that. So and all the cars unlock with your like general ranking point type thing. So, and every race that you do adds into that as well. So, like, even if you're losing, you're adding to that total, so you're unlocking more cars for yourself, and in theory, making it easier. So, that signing system.
So they're just kind of a bit of a leveling up system.
And
basically.
I haven't played too much of the multiplayer online yet, which is one thing I want to play a bit more of before I write my review. But I've played it on a local LAN, and yeah. It's quite good fun. It might be occasionally annoying people taking you out. The one thing I found as well is sometimes you're better off to be in second place than you are in first.
Because you can just pip them on the line and run into them, presumably, on the final straight.
Not only that, but yeah, but just being behind someone is the best way to, like, being right up behind someone's bumper is the best way to build up your boost. So if someone's right up behind you...
Oh, that's going to be a bloody nightmare on Xbox Live when you get everyone tailgating you and they're just going boof.
The one thing you've got to counter it, which is a nice little touch, actually, for the game, is whenever you've got someone behind you, whether they're directly behind you or coming up to your right or coming up to your left, there's a little indicator, like the kind of threat indicator when you're getting shot in an FPS. Like, it goes red in that section, so you can kind of tell which way it's coming from, which is handy enough to be able to go, oh shit, they're coming up my right hand side, I better move left a bit so they don't boost into me, sort of thing. So
okay,
that helps at least.
But overall, right, whether as a Ridge Racer fan or just a driving game fan or somebody looking for something a bit different to play, is it worth
this game it debuted at 21 in the charts, which is pretty low.
I put that down to the fact that nobody advertised it.
Well, it had quite a few magazine adverts and stuff, but hey, does that do it these days? I don't know.
But I mean, it's been getting quite good reviews, though. I mean, Edge gave it a 9.
Edge gave it a 9?
Yeah. I thought it was an 8, but hey.
I know, I mean, it wasn't even made by Nintendo, and it's not Halo.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Fair point. Yeah. But it's not.
But it does have an XP system.
It does have an XP system. There we go, that's it. Ridge Racer got a 9 out of 10 from Edge because it had an XP system and it's from Japan.
But for fans of Split Second and Burnout, it's definitely worth having a look at, especially if it goes on sale for cheap. It's a good, fun arcade racer. There's not much of them around at the moment. If you don't support this one, then, like, well, anyone that's looking for Split Second 2 or Blur 2, this is your time to, like, you know, put some things right, because a sequel. I really would like to see a sequel to this game, put it that way.
Okay. Well, I mean, talking of things that you can pick up on the cheap, didn't you buy some South Park game that's presumably got cheesy poofs and
I'd say cheap. I think it was it 800 points? I think it was. Yeah. Which, you know, not bad. I'd like to see that kind of price range for what's
it actually called? All I know is generic South Park game.
It's South Park Tenorman's Revenge, I think. And Tenorman is and I hadn't actually seen this episode, so I'm kind of getting this from the game as well, but it's apparently Cartman's ginger half brother.
Right, okay.
Or something. I was like, okay, I must have missed that episode. but yeah, you know, I remember I've seen the character before, but not in that context of him being his brother. Anyway, right, but it's a basic kind of platforming game where, yeah, you're just kind of platform like puzzle solving.
Basically, right, it's a platform game.
This is
where
going
you're
somewhere.
Platforming. Best review ever.
It's a multiplayer platform game where, like, 4 of you can take part, and there's different areas you can access only as the different individual characters. So you could play it as, like, individually as each 4, or you can play it together, and there's some achievements for playing it together as well. It's definitely more fun when there's a few of you. The script's quite funny. It's got Cartman in it and stuff. The gameplay is very basic. It's like jumping on enemies' heads to kill them, but you've got an attack that can, like, generally push them over or knock them down.
Does it suck?
It does not suck. It's
good, because South Park games have had a history of sucking.
Have a history of sucking, so I thought I'd check this one out for everyone and see if that was the case. It doesn't suck. It's very simplistic gameplay, and they know kind of what they were going for, but it's executed quite well.
And is it like 8-bit style retro graphics, or is it all kind of like the
it's just, you know, just like the cartoon sort of thing. And then different characters have got different abilities. Like Kenny can jump high, Stan throws footballs.
Cartman eats them.
Cartman can belly bash through walls. Quite like thin, breakable walls. Fat. He's not fat. He's big boned. But then they also get their super powered versions as well that can give them access to other areas and other, like, bonuses and things. So Cartman becomes the Coon, and, you know, it's all their alter egos of their superhero type things, basically. So Stands the Driller, or whatever his name is, or Toolman, or...
Okay, and is it, in a bit of a games drought, is it worth picking up for 800 Microsoft Space Bucks?
Definitely, I can see this being fun, just 4 of you just playing through, and it's, not really thinking about it, going through and just platforming it together and having a laugh and doing that. I can see it being fun on Xbox Live. It's also split screen co-op, which is quite good fun. And yeah, you can, mess around shoving people in pools of piss and stuff as well to kill them and stuff. It's quite amusing before. It's base level humour, you know what you're getting with a South Park level of humour.
So it's good fun for all the family. So if you can't find a Wii with a copy of New Super Mario Brothers to keep your whole family entertained, this is the game for you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the
basic story involves, it's like a time travelling plot involving Tenorman and his
gingerness.
Well, his ginger robotic army taking over the world and stuff. But yeah, it's
tasteful,
it's
as always.
Stupid, it's good fun, and yeah, at that price, I'd say go on, especially if you've got people either online or offline to play with.
Excellent.
Splendid.
Right, we don't have a good way of ending this segment.
No.
No. Get your bitch ass back in the kitchen and make me a new segment.
That was terrible.
No.
For a start, you didn't do the Cartman voice. Do it with the Cartman voice.
No.
Do it.
I don't do voices, do I? Hey?
Yeah, I want to hear it anyway.
No.
Do the voice.
No. I do not give in to peer pressure.
Get your bitch ass back in the kitchen.
See, why do I have to do the voice when I got 2 bitches to do it for me, huh?
My God.
Easy poo. Amazingly, despite years upon years upon years upon years of John taking the utter piss out of me for being an Apple fanboy, he has been trying to reserve and purchase an iPad 3 recently. So I thought...
No, I haven't!
Yes, you bloody have. I got a text from you the other day asking what case you should buy to keep your shiny thing looking shiny.
That is because you own a shiny thing, and I was asking on behalf of a friend.
No, you weren't. You lying little toe rag.
A friend called John, who is from Glasgow and is on a gaming podcast.
And who is you?
Possibly.
Yeah, there we go. So I thought we may as well have a little chat about kind of, handheld games on kind of non-traditional devices like phones and tablets versus kind of traditional handheld games like the 3DS, on the 3DS, PSP, PS Vita, whatever. Since kind of the market share of kind of the games that are being sold on kind of tablets and phones is going through the bloody roof, and kind of as a result, Nintendo and Sony have both taken massive hits on the money they're making out of handheld games. So where do you think it's going to go, Trax?
I think it's a bit early to say that. The 3DS is selling well, even in comparison to, some of the best handhelds that have ever been.
But is it selling as well as it could have done, despite it?
Well, here's one thing. There was a stat I read a little while ago, basically saying that the market share has pretty much doubled, tripled, quadrupled, exploded 1,000 million times, and is nearly dominating.
Well, it's like Angry Birds in Angry Birds Space, which came out a week or so ago, priced at like a quid or something like that. 69p, sold 10 million copies in a week.
Well, they sold 10 million copies across different platforms, and on one of the platforms it was 69p, Isn't that a minimum?
Well, yeah, it's 69p on iOS, and it's free on Android, but you get adverts.
But even at a worst-case scenario, 69p times 10 million, right, divide that by, so you carry on talking.
And it's £6 on PC as well, so...
Okay, but let's assume the worst case, all right? So 69p times 10 million. Okay, do talk amongst yourselves while I do maths.
Boring maths. Well, they still made more money on Modern Warfare 3, however much you came up with. But
okay, so in a week, they made, this is the worst case scenario, 4.83 million quid.
And let's talk about a little game called Draw Something for a second, which came out, about 2 months ago, and in the first 5 weeks it was downloaded by 20 million people.
That's a lot of people!
Right? Not some of them will be the free version. Yeah, right. Okay, Nintendo makes the 3DS, brings out a bunch of games, and how much money do you think they would have made ballpark from that? Just have a guess.
I know they're above. I don't know how much above they are now, but I know they got about a month or so ago. They got to 5 million 3DSs sold.
Yeah, but that's
right. Okay, so 5 million 3DSs. How much was the 3DS when it came out at launch? How much is it now again?
220 20 bajillion million pounds, I think it was.
Right, so 5 million, again, talk amongst yourself here. If we put an average price of about 180 quid or something.
Right, while he's doing boring maths, let's me and Dan have a conversation.
Yeah, morning.
Then we'll get together and compare our sums at the end of the show while I fall asleep.
Yeah, anyway, draw something. This tiny little game is just Pictionary. Gets bought by Zynga for $180 million.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is officially lots of money. That's from one game! From one game!
And the overheads, the development costs of these games are next to nothing as well. So the amount of profit being made on these things is ridiculous. However, sadly, that means that a lot of utter turd is getting released into the marketplace because everyone thinks
they can make the next Angry Birds. Yeah.
And there is something to be said, kind of with the dedicated handheld platforms, that there is a bit more of a certification and quality assurance process that's going on that you don't necessarily get with some of the stuff that's on Android, iOS,
Don't you think most of the cream floats to the top sort of thing in terms of, like...
Turds can also float to the top.
Yeah, I know, turds can
too much
also
fat
float
in
to the
your
top.
diet.
Anyway, have either of you actually played Angry Birds Space?
No.
Me either.
Well, Angry Birds... Do you want me to talk about Angry Birds Space?
Yes.
Not really. Have you played it?
It is actually quite good. I mean, again, it's the perfect mobile game because you can play it for 2 minutes.
Is it just Angry Birds with less gravity?
Well, it's interesting the way it does it. I mean, some levels are completely in space, so 0G, but it's all about small planets with their own gravitational fields, which you need to adjust for as you shoot your birds in space. But essentially, it is Angry Birds with a slightly new mechanic. It's quite good fun. But that's Angry Birds. Its beauty is in its simplicity and the fact that the guy who made the physics engine signed it over to the bloke who made the game for no money whatsoever, who's tried to sue him multiple times. Here, have this bit of code for free. I don't want any money in that game you're making. Oh, you've sold 10 million copies, bollocks. That was one of the most epic coding fails of all time, you bellend. If you're listening to this, you're a bellend.
So what makes Angry Birds Space better than every other Angry Birds that has ever been angry?
Just ask Portal 2. Things being in space is awesome.
It is officially the best in space. This game. It's a good fun game. There's nothing groundbreaking here, but
it's still Angry Birds.
It's still Angry Birds, which is a great pick up and play for, you can pick up and play for 30 seconds, so it is great for kind of sneaking in a bit of gaming here and there. But
it's great because it only lasts for 30 seconds,
that's not what I said, you utter dimwit. But anyway. But I mean, I think the problem is, and this is going to be even more of a problem going forward, is that kind of Nintendo, Sony et al. Are all going to have problems with kind of the margins and the kind of competitiveness of their products in the marketplace. As tablets and phones get more powerful, it's like the iPad 3's got a ridiculous display. It's got quad-core processors. Yes, it does cost an utter buttload of money, but that technology is going to be filtering down within the next year or two. And, the kind of graphics that even the iPad 2 or the iPhone 4S are kicking out are, I would say, at least on par with what the Vita can do. And that's a platform that's going to evolve at a very quick rate, underpinned by the fact that everyone tends to get a new handset every 24 months. So
there's a lot of people here that aren't really sure what point you're making.
All I'm saying is that I think in the handheld gaming marketplace, Sony and Nintendo are fighting a losing battle. I really think that.
That's pretty
brilliant.
True.
Revelation.
All right, so Tim, what have you contributed to this bloody discussion apart from taking the piss out of me and John coming up with actual facts?
Well, mainly because you changed the topic of discussion that we were proposing, but never mind. But one thing that I did actually find interesting is when I was looking at things this week is that most of the games that I have on my want to buy list at the moment are all downloadable titles. Like, there's not really anything, and it's slightly influenced by the fact that some of the kind of in-betweeny games that I may have not purchased along the way I've got for review or something like that, but generally there's nothing on shop shelves at the moment that I want to buy.
Because there's no shops which have shelves left. That's why everything's gone on the high street.
But there are quite a few downloadable titles that I want to buy. Like, I just bought South Park because I didn't want to miss out on that, and I thought I'd get that while it was timely. But I still want to pick up the Simpsons arcade game, which I didn't pick up when it came out.
Oh, I should have got that while it was free on Plus.
Journey that I haven't picked up because that sounded really good and everyone says really nice things about it and stuff like that. There's some Game Gear titles that have just come out on the 3DS that I'm semi-interested
in. And they're quite cool, actually, because they've actually done like a little Game Gear facade on the screen, which I think's quite cute in some ways. But unfortunately, that means you're stuck with the very tiny square screen that a Game Gear had.
Yeah, but I loved my Game Gear, so I definitely want to pick up a Game Gear game at some stage just for the nostalgia.
But there's some truly great stuff out on the Nintendo 3DS shop, like Pool Blocks. If you haven't got Pool Blocks, go and buy it.
Yeah, because I'm ignoring about that. I've heard it's very good.
It's brilliant.
Yeah?
It is brilliant.
I heard it makes good use of the 3D and stuff as well.
Yeah, brilliant game. And, you know, even kind of Sony are getting their act together with, you know, the digital pricing's been a little better, but there's some real stunning stuff coming out on PS Plus that you can download, like Need for Speed Shift 2 is going to be free.
Nice.
Starting this week. On Plus. Which is craziness.
But then, John, you're also reporting something about what's the name? The latest update to FIFA with the UEFA thing?
Yeah, well, whenever the World Cup or the Euro Championship rolls around...
The Euro Championship? You're so interested in football, aren't you, John?
I know.
When the Euro Championship comes around...
EA basically kind of go, right, here's the FIFA engine we're kind of working on, and half-hash it into a functioning game for whatever event it is.
Yeah.
But this year, they've looked at Euro 2012 and gone, you know what, we don't need to do this anymore. So what they're doing is, it's only a week or so away now. They're going to bring out a £15.99 or however many Microsoft Spacebox that is, add-on for FIFA 12, which is just the Euro add-on. So you get all the Euro teams, you get all the Euro stadiums, and you get a kind of new mode which you kind of make your own kind of custom Euro team and take them to glory in the Euro. And how many times can I say Euro?
Euro. I mean, one thing I have forgot to mention last week, so I'll mention it now before I forget again, but I was on the Death by Robots podcast I guested on last week, and it was quite nice because I got to talk about football for a change. And we talked about FIFA Street and stuff as well. But
sorry, you said football and I got bored.
You were just talking about a football game, you know.
I know. That's reminded me that I didn't talk about that last week. But coming back to the FIFA thing, it's really good to see that this is the way they've gone. It's kind of exactly what I've been asking for years, and it's at quite a good price. I think, like, not charging the 40 quid, and I think you could pick up, in a reasonable amount of time, you could pick up the game for like £30 odd, like the RC wafers and stuff possibly, but they've generally been full retail releases, and coming in at like £15-16, that's something that you can easily just go on, okay, yeah, I'll buy that, I'll update that, and then I can play that as well. And it's nice to see they've done it that way. And as
you say, Tim, it's about bloody time they've done it that way, since I've always thought it's been a bit cynical, like the World Cup and Euro cash-ins.
I mean, let's be honest, most people that would buy the Euro games or the World Cup games probably already like FIFA. You know what that music means? It is time once again for the Great British Debate, the weekly segment in which two idiots, usually two out of the three of us, because we're all idiots,
You're an idiot.
verbally duke it out to discover who is the better writer, person, or something like that. Anyway, this week, Mr. Chris Shooter, aka Scootu, on BigRedBarel, published an article this week detailing his bucket list of games that he hadn't played yet. And a lot of those games, pretty fine games, but a lot of them happen to be very old. And a few people on the forums and in comments and things like that took an issue with this and saying, they're really old games, you shouldn't bother with them, you know what the internet's like.
Yeah. God,
so we are asking this week, just because a game is old, if you haven't played it, does that mean it's worth bothering with it?
I think
regular
it is.
Old man Dan,
yes.
who is a regular old man
Dan.
as I have
old man Dan.
Old man Dan.
I also have a plan, and I drive a van.
You don't drive a van.
I don't drive a van.
He is convinced that they are worth your time, and Tim, as the younger, spritelier person despite being older, there's logic in there somewhere, is convinced they are not worth our time. So Dan, you have 30 seconds to convince us that old games are worth your time if you haven't played them yet, starting now.
Where would we be without the games that existed in a time where we didn't have all your Blu-rays and your RAMs and your hard drives to get filled up with crap, where the main thing that sold games was gameplay, not the Vaseline-smeared bloom lighting cacophony of crap that you get filling the shelves nowadays. It was all about innovation and gameplay. Is the game fun? Yes. Let's publish it and let's give everyone a fantastic experience that they're going to enjoy. And they have laid the groundwork for all modern games.
You're making a really easy argument, a bit dumb.
No, I'm not.
Right, there was an argument in there somewhere, but it stopped about 32 seconds.
Yeah. All right then, Einstein. Let's hear yours.
Tim is now convinced that they're not worth our time, and he has 30 seconds to tell us why, starting from now.
Should never get caught going back. Don't waste your time with old games. Old games are old. This is an ever-evolving medium. You should go forward. A new game is generally going to be better than the old one because it's built on the old one that went before it. There is some value, obviously, to be had with games that have been played recently in this time frame, but you don't want to be going back. You don't want to be going back generations of games because they're old. They're not as good as they were. You'll ruin your memories of if you hadn't before. If you didn't, you're not living on the nostalgia. There's no point going back. Live in the here and the now. End of.
Right, tidy 30 seconds there, Tim, but here's the point I was making.
You're not even in this debate. You don't get to make a bloody point.
The subject of this debate was that games you haven't played, if they're worth playing or not.
But
and you're telling us
both.
that they would be as good or as bad as we remembered, but we would remember them because we'd never played them.
Okay.
You lose.
No, I covered both.
Yeah, you lose, Tim.
I covered both. I said about both sides of the equation.
No.
You spent more time going, well, they're not as good as you remember, the nostalgia's there.
Well, look, it's bollocks anyway. Old games are good. You should go back and play any game of any time in any time period, probably anyway.
All the point is, if a good game is good, it's good. Go and play it.
Pretty much.
Apart from the bad ones that aren't good anymore. Some games age better than others, especially in different genres.
I'm not saying all old games are good, because some of them were terrible, but there is a lot of good quality stuff out there.
Yeah, old good games are good. Old bad games are not. That's quite easy to understand.
But old new games, what do we think of them then, eh?
Oh, shut up.
Well, no, that's HD collections.
Are you talking about like all these Tetris remakes that constantly come out every week?
Well,
I think if there's some innovation, we've debated that in the past about HD collections, but I think if they're trying to bring something new to the table visually, I think then it's kind of okay. But you're buying into.
What if they're just trying to like bring a generation back to a game that didn't get enough plays the first time around?
I'm not sure what point we're
I'm
making.
not. Anyway, shall we end the show? I think we should.
Put it out of his misery.
Yes, I'm going to continue talking to myself and having a conversation. Don't you think, Dan? Yes, I do.
Yes.
Marvellous. Brilliant. Anyway, Tim, you've got a competition.
Let's do a competition.
Yes. You're the one with the details, so you go and do it, mate.
Knights of Amalur competition for...
It's not Knights of Amalur, Kingdoms of Amalur.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I'm making up games now. Well, if you typed more general agendas with words rather than letters...
Kingdoms of Amalur, isn't that a game you've played?
You're about to accuse me of reviewing it and then realise that I didn't. Is that what happened there, John?
Anyway, there is a game called Kingdoms of Amalur.
Kingdoms of Amalur, yes.
And it has some DLC out called...
The Legend of Dead Kel, I believe.
Dead Kel?
Yes.
Dead Kel, K-E-L.
Okay.
K-E-L, as in Keenan and Kel. And this got us thinking.
Yes.
Because we happen to have a bunch of codes for this to give away.
To be precise, a code on the 360 and a code on the PS3 and a code for the armour pack to go with it.
For both systems?
For both systems.
Marvellous. So what do they have to do to win such fine virtual finery?
Well, with Kel in mind, we thought we'd go through the archives of the 90s, and we found some decent pictures of Kel from Keenan and Kel.
Good, right.
So we're going to put him into a picture of Kingdoms of Amalur, and we're going to run a capture contest.
Basically, ladies and gentlemen, we can't be asked to provide the comedy for this competition, so we're asking you to.
Although John is providing some of it through the medium of Photoshop.
Through the medium of Photoshop? Crivens, Timothy! That sounds awfully spanky and fandangled.
Anyway, the picture will be up in the show thread, so get your captions in when it appears.
Win your code. Oh, and specify whether you want 360 or PS3, otherwise I will cut your heads off.
Right.
Yeah,
that's nice. So we'll move on from that bit of passive aggressivity and go on something that's a bit generally nice. There is a fantastic Gran Turismo 5 Gamer Night coming up, being hosted by...
With cars and
everything. Being hosted by the wonderful Jedi Junkie, and that is going to be on Saturday the 14th of April at 10:30pm BST. So that's GMT plus 1 hour, okay?
Basically what every normal person that isn't called Dan calls UK time.
It matters to the Americans. It confuses them. An hour gets added on or taken away. It makes their brain hurt. I'm trying to make it easy.
What to do, right, is you go on the internet and you type into Google current UK time, and it will tell you what time it is in the UK.
Or if you're worried about the Americans, why don't you give it in an American time?
But, okay, right, so on the...
No, let's not go the way off time.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, go to Google on Saturday and type in current UK time.
It would have been just bloody quicker for me to say without you saying, okay, go to Google and put it in.
Let's talk about the fact that we are getting geared up for charity stuff to help children earlier than normal because we're unusually organised.
October the 20th of this year, Extra Life is happening once again, and us good folks at BRB are doing a mega awesome team for Extra Life, try and raise thousands and thousands, if not millions and millions of pounds for sick children around the world. You can join up right now to Team BRB by going to, get your pens at the ready, http://www.extra-life.org/team/BRB, and you can sign up right there. So go and do that now, and it will make you more awesome and sleep easier at night because you're saving children in a good way.
Let's do some shout-outs.
Let's do some shout-outs before this gets even worse. So I would just like to say thank you to Baba Jill for leaving us a 5-star review on UK iTunes, who describes the show as a doctor, that's me, a dog, that's you, Tim, and Dafty. Well, I presume that's you, John.
It probably is, yeah. How's that be fairly
Probably is you. Either that, or it's a daft dog, and he just doesn't give a crap about you, John.
Yeah, that's fine. I can deal with that.
Yeah, fair enough. Apparently we discussed latest and greatest video games, which we didn't...
Is that maybe because we do?
Yeah, well, apart from on this episode and the episode before it, yes. Slightly. And I'd also like to say thank you to the forums, to Reset Switch and Davey and Jay. Thank you, forums.
Thank you to the forums. Thank you, forums, for being so wonderful and always
Anyone
there.
you want to say thank you to, John? I might recommend the last 2 names in the list I've provided on the agenda.
I would like to thank Darth Nutclinge.
Good name.
Yeah, good name. And Quintan from the forums.
And Tim, I presume you've got a very long list of stuff that's going to come off the top of your head to thank.
Yeah, no, I don't, actually. I'm just going to give a personal shout-out and a general shout-out.
We told you you can't shout your mum out.
I've been meaning to do for a while. No, but I will shout out Miss Trust 90. Hello, you're lovely and everything, but hey. But the one thing I wanted to just shine a little bit of a light on, as we're also talking about Extra Life this week, people might not have seen, and I haven't made as much of a fuss as I'd like to, but we also, on the bottom of our blog roll, you will see at the bottom of our site as well, there's also a link to another group of guys called Special Effect. If you haven't come across them or heard about us speak about them before, they are definitely worth checking out. I'll give them a shout out. They do brilliant work with people with disabilities and getting custom made gaming systems so that they can work with games where people can drive with their eyes, as we've seen before, and they do brilliant work as well. So, and
it's good to see them getting some real kind of coverage in UK press. I think the Prime Minister went and visited them last week.
Yeah,
check out the stuff. They're a seriously great bunch of guys, so go and check them out. I think it's specialeffect.org.
That is the one.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
So go and check them out, because they are truly spiffing, wondrous people.
And while we're on it as well, I know that the guys over at Front Towards Gamer are doing some charity stuff at the moment, so go check them out as well.
Indeedy. So, I think that is finally, thank God, a show. So, all that's left is for us to say goodbye. So, I've been Dan.
I might have been Tim.
And I've still got nothing to say at the end of this episode.
You've still... After how many episodes have we podcasted together, and that's about the best you've come up with?
How many will it take until you really, really get annoyed by it?
Oh, I was annoyed after the first episode.
Yeah, it was...
Well, you got annoyed at everything.
Over the annoyance.
You've gone through the stages of grief. You're now at acceptance.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How many podcast episodes have we actually been together?
70, yeah.
About 70 squillion.
Because there was...
Over 70.
There was 20 odd UK. No, there was... Anyway, this is a conversation we'll have off air because it will bore you to tears, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, maybe a fan can tell us quicker than we can.
Absolutely. But hey. So, thank you for listening, and until next time, dear listeners, toodle bye.
You and your ears are quite welcome for the podcasting goodness that you just heard. Why not roll on over to BigRedBarel.com for more podcast, news, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet, BigRedBarel.com.